Well, hello there, everyone. Oh, you see this? Ah, good Palestine. But nah, damn, I don't even know how to start this off. I guess there's no way to get into it, but to just get into it. I do apologize, everyone. This is kind of like very still. This is still very pretty new to me doing this right here. As y'all can see, this is another old video. Podcast over talk is what I'm doing. I don't even know if this is even considered a podcast. Like, could you even consider something that's done by one person a podcast? It's like a monocast or something. Actually, I don't even know what the definition of podcast is, so who knows? But anyway, I just I just want to know why. All right, that's what why. And I know y'all are probably thinking, what do you mean why? Why what? Why everything? Why is it that people uh, can't comprehend or is incapable? It seems as though they're not able to comprehend uh, different perspectives. I just don't understand it. Why is it that there are people who feel as though enlightenment, all right, means that you're automatically good? Because it doesn't. Enlightenment doesn't mean that you're automatically good. All right, enlightenment. Because I am enlightened. All right, and there are plenty of movies out there that also tackles this question, or not even a question, but a representation that enlightenment does not necessarily mean you are inherently good. Does not necessarily mean that you are inherently bad. It doesn't mean anything. It's just knowledge of nature. All right. You see, I use that term very loosely, okay? I don't mean the meaning of life or anything. I mean the nature of life. There's a difference between nature and meaning. Meaning, for one, is a human construction. And like I said, it's perfectly fine if anyone disagrees with anything that I say, because that's how we start a conversation. That's how we, can get to the truth. So it doesn't matter if what I'm saying is right or wrong. What matters is the discussion, all right, and our dedication to the truth. Because it's possible that what I'm saying is very much true. It's possible that I'm saying it's very much wrong. This is what I mean by an open mind. Okay, you have to always be open to the fact that your point of view could very much be wrong. So with that being said, yes, enlightenment does not make anyone inherently good, inherently bad. It's just knowledge of the nature of life. Alright? For example, all life comes to an end. It depends on how you want to look at that. See, me being as spiritual as I am, now at least, I understand that physical life may come to an end, but who knows what lies beyond for your spirit. Who knows what lies next in the next phase of life for your spirit? Whether it's heaven, hell. Spirituality even has a concept of that. Like, think about it like this. If you've lived a wholesome life in the terms in which your own spirit, your own soul can feel good about the life that you live, then you will most likely move on to the next phase of life. Maybe you won't. I mean, we don't know for a fact, but that's a possibility. That's an idea that we can have a conversation about, right? What if you have lived an unwholesome life in the terms in which you've lived a life in which your own spirit is hurting, is sad about the life that you lived. Maybe you consciously and physically are not, but your spirit. You can't lie to yourself. All right, you can try to physically lie to yourself consciously, but your subconscious, your own spirit, understands the life that you have lived. You cannot fool that. That being said, you also have to understand that you self-generate your own heaven and or hell, because if we are all coming from the same source, we will eventually go back to the source, meaning that we are going to reconnect with God. or if you that's what y'all want to call it. Therefore, guess what? We give ourselves our own damnation. All right. So I just don't understand why. Like, why do people not choose, or they refuse to try to see certain things, or accept certain things. And I understand some things it can go against like everything that you believed in your whole life, but at the end of the day, as humans, like changing is a part of us. We're a part of change. Nature is always changing. Evolution is a perfect example of that. You know what I'm saying? It's like I said, y'all. I don't try to say things with no merit. I try to always have something to be able to back me up. But yeah, people really assume that their way of seeing things or thinking things is the only way to see and or think things. And it's honestly sad if you ask me. It's unfortunate that people can go through life living in that way, because there's so much knowledge out there. And as a wise man once said, and I'm quoting Avatar at this point, Uncle Iroh, it is important to take wisdom from many different places, because if you take it from only one place, it becomes rigid and stale. Okay, I believe that. And the reason I believe that is because we are all one. And everything that we believe in has merit to some extent. Everything. Whether it's believing in multiple gods, whether it's believing in no God, everything has some merit. So there's something that caused someone to go down the path that they went down. And instead of trying to damn it or, assume, as y'all can see, we're going straight to the next gameplay. Yes. But instead of us trying to do all of this, we don't try to understand them. I tell I tell my most open-minded friends all the time. Even they still look at me crazy because maybe they aren't as open-minded as me. But I want to meet a Satanist. I want to understand how did he even find that religion. What put him to that? It's interesting to me. I'm genuinely a curious person when it comes to that topic, because it is. Are you born into it? Do you find it? Like how does that happen? You know what I'm saying? And maybe people aren't as curious as me, and that's perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? And even religion don't, or Christianity specifically, don't say that you can't be friends with someone who worships the devil. You just don't practice their craft. So, and at the end of the day, it all comes down to interpretation. There are many different interpretations of any type of text, especially since it was so long ago and it wasn't even in the language that we speak now, what we call English, or different languages across the world. But the most wide-known language at this moment is English, so I'm gonna say English. But I am aware that there are multiple languages. But yeah. So with that being said, it just fascinates me sometimes. Because literally, if you can say that it's misinterpreted, you can say anything is misinterpreted, and maybe it is. Maybe everything that we ever known is misinterpreted. But who cares? It's all about understanding another person's point of view. Like, why is it that someone can't even try to understand another point of view? Like, why are you not curious to why someone is atheist? And who knows, maybe their answer isn't an acceptable one. And I understand those type of people, but not every atheist feels that way. There are some atheists who actually have legitimate reasons for why they turn towards atheisms. Why is it there are some people who actually believe that religious texts such as the Quran and the Bible are actually a grave sin to the spirit? You know what I'm saying? People probably don't know that because they don't care to understand it. You know what I'm saying? But there are some people, some things that actually believes that those type of religious texts are actually bad for us, and I wonder why. You know what I mean? Like, this is all about sparking a conversation. Why is it that when we relinquish control, we actually gain control? Damn, I don't know the word that I was thinking of. But because we, relinquish our control, or at least our perception of control, maybe even our relationship with what we think control is, we gain a higher sense of control because of it. And why people don't like to talk about that, but I don't understand why. Like, what's so wrong with talking about some of the things that could lead to a better understanding and a higher wisdom. And when you're enlightened, you understand these things. And I could have my own prejudice about being enlightened, and maybe I'm not enlightened. However, I'm pretty sure that I am. I mean, only you can tell yourself whether you're enlightened, whether you're not enlightened. For example, right? Imagine if you become enlightened from a place that isn't from love, that isn't from compassion. We've seen this in the movie Joker. Uh, he wasn't just um always hateful, and I'm talking about the 2019 Joker, yes. And it's like he was made, like villains, evil people, whatever you want to call them. They're not born, and some of them probably are born. Maybe you are born evil. It's possible. However, they're also molded for the most part, and it's unfortunate that we have such thin and narrow ways of thinking about good and evil, because in the most wholesome sense possible, good and evil is not even a real thing. It's something that we have made up because of the way that we perceive certain actions. You feel me? So, and that's bullshit. That should have been a great right there. Y'all saw. I know y'all saw that. Hopefully y'all are enjoying the gameplay. I know I'm speaking facts right now. I know sometimes the gameplay, or maybe me talking, can be a little distracting, but this is what makes my channel different. I'm trying to do something slightly different than what most people do. A video game type podcast. Come on now. How many people are doing that? And if you do know someone doing, I don't know anyone doing this. So to me, this is innovation. This is new. Yeah. But yeah. And Joker, he eventually starts to lose himself. And with losing himself, he actually finds himself in the Joker, and that gives him his sense of power. This gives him his revelation. This gives him his type of enlightenment that people don't want to talk about, because enlightenment is not correlated with good or bad. Enlightenment is just truth, and his truth was that there is no such thing as order, and that chaos is the only thing that is definite. And how crazy that sounds, he's not all the way wrong. Think about it. Have y'all heard of the young dryas impact? All right. Well, the young dryas impact is basically something collided with the earth. I'm about to get slightly biblical here. Alright, something collided with the earth. We don't know what it was, but it was big as shit. Some people theorize that it actually was the moon that got caught in our orbit after this happened. However, this is the leading mainstream scientific theory of why the Great Flood happened. Alright, so something big collided with the earth, and that's what caused the Great Flood. We also have physical evidence on it somewhere, somehow. But yeah, y'all can go look into that yourselves, because I don't know it well enough to explain it. All right, and you know the saying: if you can't explain it, then you don't really understand it. And I admit I don't really understand it. I just know of it. So if y'all want to, y'all can go look it up. Young dryas impact. So that being said, I don't remember where I was going with this, but it's okay, because boom, Great Flood is something that is said to have happened in both mainstream science and in biblical texts throughout the ages. So it's like we don't think about a lot of these things for whatever reasons. And instead of us trying to come together and have some type of common understanding or thought about these things, we choose to just ignore it altogether. And it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that we feel this way. Because there's like, as a human species, there is so much that we could do. There's a lot of knowledge that we could somehow find if we just brought our collective minds together, because we're not a idiotic species at all. Like, yes, as a species we do a lot of idiotic things, don't get me wrong now, but there's so much, you know, that, oh, that was a good one right there. I know y'all like that. Maybe I escaped this match. I honestly don't remember. I'm watching this while I'm also talking. So everything that y'all are seeing, I'm also, because I don't remember this gameplay at all. This is like old, as y'all can see. Old. Green perks. Come on now, old. But yeah. And I'm actually glad that I'm starting to do this right here, because I want to bring as much awareness as possible, if it's even possible to bring any awareness to this, because it's probable that, you know, what I'm saying can just completely go, you know, without notice, and that's fine too. But the knowledge is out there. Y'all just have to find it and go down the, and I don't want to call them rabbit holes, because a lot of these things, these are pieces of a much bigger puzzle that we could put together and we can solve. But yeah, man, I just, and I think that the name of this video is going to continue to be why, right? There's just so much that we don't understand. Like, why do people feel as though there's some, how do I word this? I don't even know how to word this. Like, people assume that there is some type of opposition of true to false, or true and false, I should more accurately say. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people, they just assume that that true and false are opposites of each other, right? But in reality, or in essence of it, true and false do not exist, not in the way that we can even understand it. You know, I'm and I don't like to say stuff like this because it makes me feel like I'm bragging. This is why I like talking to other people, so it makes me not seem so self-righteous. But I'm at a point in my own mind where I see things as not as necessarily true or false, but I see certain things as objective and subjective, and it's almost the exact same thing. Yes, I know, but not entirely. Objective is things that you can't really argue. Like, for example, I'm gonna give this example again, that the world is chaotic, or the life itself is chaotic, right? And it all depends on how you want to look at it. And there are fucking animals that will eat their babies if you fucking like touch them. You know, they got the wrong scent on them, so they eat them. You know what I'm saying? There are animals that eat other animals to survive, and we are no different. We eat animals as well to survive. We also eat plants. All of these things are a part of the ecosystem. They contribute to a much bigger picture. However, we are a part of that picture as well. You know what I'm saying? And it's just so crazy, because the only difference between us and other animals, and we don't like to admit this, because we are animals. That is a fact. We have animal cells within us. Fuck a fact. That is objective. We have animal cells within us, just like every other animal. Therefore, we are animals. However, the difference between us and other animals is that we literally have the ability to just look at ourselves and be like, I'm a human, you know, or I'm alive. And at the end of the day, we don't know if other animals are able to do that. We really don't. We can't read their minds. We don't know what's going on. Yes, we can do brain scans, and them brain scans say that certain things probably aren't active for real, but we really don't know. And that's objective right there. It's not subjective. What's subjective is us thinking that we are the only ones that can think the way that we think and do the things that we do. Maybe we're the only ones that can do what we do in the way that we do it, but there are plenty of civilized animals out there. Lions, they live in harmony. They travel, wolves, they travel in like packs and stuff. I think they hunt in packs as well. I don't know too much about this, but the animals are just as civilized as we are. It's just in a different way. It's all about your perception of things. And that's what I mean when I say, why do we just assume or feel as though that there's some type of opposition of true and false, because in reality there really isn't no opposition. It's about our interpretations of what we feel as though is an opposition. I know that sounds kind of confusing, but yeah, it's crazy. When you start thinking and going down certain rabbit holes, you'll be surprised of the stuff that actually comes up. It makes no sense. Like, it makes you think. It also makes you wonder. Like, when you have an open mind, your thinking is not limited to literally anything, right? So, for example, imagine if there was no religion ever, right? It might be some hard for some of y'all to do, especially those of you who are religious. Y'all can't turn off the religious brain. Y'all can train yourselves to do that if y'all want to, but it's all up to y'all. However, imagine if there was no religion at all, none. Boom. There's no thought of God. There's no anything, right? Like, would that make people become more, less, or equally morally corrupt? Because people, even with religion, we're fucking corrupt as hell. As a species, individuals might not be, but as a species, we are corrupt as shit, disharmonic. We don't care about each other for whatever reason. Why the hell have we been on one generator for the longest right now? Lord have mercy. Can we either die or do this gen? Are we 3 gen? Is that what the problem is? Anyway, but yeah, and it makes you think about these type of things when you have a open mind, because there's no limits to what you can think about. Some people won't even acknowledge certain thoughts, because who knows why. Maybe they're just not open-minded enough to acknowledge. I don't know. I don't know what it could be. But some people don't acknowledge certain thoughts, and I don't understand it. I just don't get it. It's like, why? There are some people, right? It's like, why do they feel as though why do they expect a universe that is full of randomness? And it's possible that it's not. These are my thoughts, though. But why do they expect a universe that's full of randomness to be fair? Like, if a fucking meteor, or not even a meteor, if a planet, let's say Nibiru, because that is a leading theory of how doomsday will happen. A planet, a rogue planet, they say, will collide with the Earth, killing off all of the Earth's inhabitants. However, we're gonna say Nibiru because back in the early 2000s, the movie 2012 was constructed off of this one thought. However, the original understanding of it was Nibiru was gonna be the one colliding with the Earth. So I'm gonna use Nibiru, and it's also easier than saying rogue planet. So let's say Nibiru actually does collide with the Earth. That's an act of randomness, or at least the way that we would interpret it, it would be random. Maybe it wasn't random. Maybe it actually is planned. There a famous was he a physicist? I can't remember. But Albert Einstein, many of you may know him. Those of you who don't know him, look him up, because he's amazing. He gave us the foundation to our general understanding of modern physics today. So with that being said, he posed a famous quote, said he don't believe that God plays dice with the universe. And that's his thoughts. Everyone have their own thoughts. So maybe the universe isn't random. However, I believe, or at least my interpretation of it, is that it is random. Maybe everything does happen for a reason. However, it's still a random occurrence to us, in my opinion. With that being said, and it's like, why do people feel as though it needs to be fair? And it's like, when we say fair, we have to look at what is our definition of fair. Like, what do you mean by fair, my guy? You don't know for real. It's so crazy, because it's like, you want to think about social norms, okay? It's like, why is math the way that it is? What do you mean? It seems as though math. I said, no, I did not just talk to myself. Oh my gosh. I'm about to end this video soon. I think this is the last one, y'all, because boy, oh boy, I'm starting to get crazy. Like, this is when the cycle starts to kick in, when I start doing shit like that. And I actually do this in my head a lot, so it feels good to actually get it out. And a lot of the times I can't formulate a lot of the things in my head or articulate it in my head as well as I'm able to do it saying it out loud. So I'm actually glad that this is a thing. I'm glad that I'm doing this once again. But yes, it's like, what do I mean by why math is the way that it is? Well, it seems as though math is perfect in describing our universe. Okay. However, math is not necessarily about our universe. I'm reading a book called Our Mathematical Universe by Max Tegmark, and it's a great read, especially if you're like a science guy. Definitely, I recommend it. With that being said, what was I saying? I don't remember. Dang it. That we are one of many universes that could have inhabited life, and we just so happen to be in a universe that where life was able to happen, and that every universe has its own vibration and woody woo woody wop. So basically, that the multiverse theory is real. All right. And believe it or not, but even in mainstream science, okay, let me explain. Even the mainstream science understands, because of the cosmic inflation theory. All right, with the Big Bang theory, there was a big problem that people had to solve for, and they had to solve for why the universe was expanding rather than slowing down, because we assumed that it was just gonna slow down, and it wasn't. Is expanding. So since it is expanding, people don't understand why. So that's where the cosmic inflation theory comes into play. Cosmic inflation theory also predicts certain things, such as the multiverse, right? Parallel universes, whatever y'all want to call them. However, parallel universes aren't talked about in mainstream because they don't want to talk about it. Like, that's really the simplest way to put it. They don't want to talk about parallel universes, multiverses, because they I don't know why. However, quantum physics is a thing. Those of you who do not know what quantum physics is, it is one of the most strangest things in science that you'll ever come across, right? Or at least so we think. Because the multiverse theory is just as crazy, and Max Tegmark talks about those in his book. And with that being said, you cannot ignore that it is probable for the multiverse theory to be a real thing, because the inflation theory predicts it. So the only way that you can ignore it is if you make your own theory. And this is how science works. I'm teaching y'all a little bit about science now before I end it. But the way that science works is that if a theory predicts something and you don't like what it predicts, you are free to figure out the same theory but without the certain predictions that you don't like. For example, some people don't like I think it's general relativity that or special relativity. It's one of those that predicts black holes, and some people don't like that. Right? That's perfectly fine. Just find a theory that literally does everything that general relativity do, but without the black holes, and you'll be perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you can't. Well, you can. It's not like it's impossible, but I mean, as you can see, it hasn't happened. See, if science is telling us anything, it's just because there's a lack of evidence for something does not mean that it is impossible for it to come about. That's something that we should always keep in mind, because even in the science terms, they have a general understanding of being open-minded. However, in practice, it's not really like that. And that's where you know, that's where a lot of people can, or at least that's where I butt heads in religion, because a lot of people don't keep the open mind, or at least, you know, and even when I read the text, because I'm reading the Bible now, and it's very interesting. It don't necessarily give much room for open-mindedness. It's basically like, oh, this is the truth, and that's it. However, even science gives you an ideal of like some form of room for being open-minded, having your own theory and everything. But I think that's where I'm gonna end it here, y'all, because I just don't understand why. You like what I did there? Yes, yes, I know. But real talk though, why? Like, we gotta do better as a species. Like, as a species, we have so much more in us, if we just be a little bit more open-minded. And with that being said, I will see you all in the next one, and I will see you all later. That was some bullshit right there, and I know I just died because they all left. Well, how do you say, oh, that's the way the cookie crumbles? Boom, ba-doom, ba-doom.